what's going on, everybody? This is Steve Didier here with another edition of the Mexico Minute, and I'm going to warn you up front, I've had multiple cups of coffee this morning, so we are going to get through this really quick. All right? Today we are talking about travel scams in Mexico and how to avoid getting scammed while you're traveling to, or when you first move here to Mexico. So after you've lived here a little bit, you generally kind of get the idea of what's going on, and you can avoid them for the most part. So before we get started, a couple things. Let me emphasize, first of all, this is not unique just to Mexico. This is anywhere. You can get scammed as a traveler or a tourist anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in the US, Canada, Mexico, Thailand, Australia. It doesn't matter where you are. So this is not just unique to Mexico. But there are some that are kind of unique to Mexico. So we're going to cover those, make sure that you know how to avoid them. Second thing, as always, if you're looking to make some extra money or fund a life of travel abroad, click the link below, check it out, see what I'm doing, and maybe we can work together. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, the 5,500 scam. In Mexico, you have pesos for money. Peso bills come in 20s, 50s, 100s, 200s, and 500s. It's so common for tourists, and locals know that tourists aren't familiar with the money situation, so it's very common for tourists to have a 500 peso bill handed over for payment, and then the merchant, whether it's at the gas station, we'll get into the Pemex scam here in a second, but whether you're paying at a bar or whatever, it's very common for them to take the 500, they'll have a 50 ready, and go, oh, sorry, you only give me 50. And the unsuspecting tourist thinks, oh man, I really don't know the money, and then you hand over another 500, you lose it all. So be careful of that. Make sure you know exactly what you're giving. Hand it over. Say, can you hand those? It's 500 pesos. So watch out for that. They'll get you on that a lot of different places. So make sure you know what you're handing over. Okay, as we mentioned in the last one, there's the Pemex scam. Now this can be a couple different people. This one's going to piss a lot of people off probably, but that's all right. If you rent a car or you move here and you're driving, when you fill up at the gas stations in Mexico, the Pemexes, you have the attendant fills it up for you. There's no self-serve gas stations here. It's always the attendant. Now, it's very common for them to work in pairs. As the aforementioned 5,500 scam, you can hand over a 50, and if you don't watch, they can do this, hand over 500, they can switch for the 50. If you're really watching, a lot of times what they'll do working in pairs is they'll have somebody try and get your attention over there to maybe check your oil, check your antifreeze, whatever. So you take your attention off, and, oh, no, thank you, and go back, and the guy's standing there is like, I need more, you only gave me 50. So watch out for that. I haven't been gotten by that, but I've had people try and get me on that because I knew what I was looking for before I filled up. So make sure you get out of your car, make sure you are very aware of what you're handing over, and make sure you keep an eye on them. Also with the Pemex, make sure before they start putting in gas that you see zeros on the pump, because they have one where they'll leave it on there, and so you get a 500 and you want, say, 500 pesos in gas, it's already at 200, you get 300, they pocket the other 200. So make sure you're careful what bills you're handing over, and make sure they zero that pump for you before they start pumping gas. Okay, the surveyor scam. I don't know personally of anybody who's been got with this, but I know that it's out there. A lot of places, tourist areas, do get stopped by people who speak perfect English, they're super nice, and they just ask if they want to take a survey, and they'll take your personal information. Never give out your personal information to somebody who hits you up on the street. Never. Your phone number, your email address. Don't do it. What they do is they will set up, now that they have your personal information, they will run a fake kidnapping ruse and contact you or your relatives and try and demand money and extort money. So there's a couple different ways that they will go about it. Just bottom line is, don't give out your personal information to some guy on the street. Common sense, guys. Let's keep it smart, okay? All right, the sob story scam. This is a little weird one because in a lot of places that you will travel, and in Mexico, it's a very poor country. So you will find a lot of people, beggars, and people hitting you up on the street for cash. You know, it's a very common thing. Now, most of us, especially coming from the US and Canada, feel we want to do our part to help. The unfortunate part with this is that in many cases, the children or the women are sent out with a sob story and trying to get money from you. it's completely fake. The gangs and or other people that have control over these people will be sending them out to collect money for the gangs and or whoever they're working for. So it's really not a sob story. They're really not. They are in a tough position, but it's not the position that you think it is. And a lot of them are really, really good. Not to mention, if you reach out and give them cash, there might be people watching you to find out where you keep your cash. Are you keeping it in your pocket? Are you keeping, separate from your wallet? That way you can be set up for later on, maybe to get pickpocketed, or depending on where you're at, if, you could be just straight up mugged. So as tough as it is and as callous as it is, general policy is just don't give money to street beggars. It can sound really rough and callous, but you can be setting yourself up for a bad time. So be careful with that, guys. Okay, rental cars and rental equipment. There's a lot of ways they can try and work you for cash on this. The bottom line is you need to use common sense, protect yourself, make sure that when you pick up the car, everybody's got a smartphone. Videotape the whole entire car. So if there's any damage on it, make sure you have it recorded. When you go back to turn it in, do the exact same thing, because sometimes they'll try and charge your credit card for damage, and you need to be able to have proof. And this doesn't matter if it's you're renting jet skis, cars, whatever. Be very, very, very careful. They will actually sometimes even send people out to damage the equipment. So watch out for that too. But the bottom line is document everything, use common sense, be safe out there. Okay, now pickpocket is not necessarily a scam, but it's something that bears mentioning. It's not as common here as it is in some other places, like Spain is huge in pickpocket. You can do pickpocket anywhere, let's be honest. But there are a couple of things to really watch out for. Don't carry your wallet in your back pocket, guys. Women, if you have a bag, make sure it's zipped, make sure it's guys, if you keep your wallet in your front pocket or cargo shorts or something like that where it's buttoned, it's a lot harder to get to. Now, one trick that they'll use a lot is somebody may accidentally trip and spill something on you. And they're very, very apologetic, super nice, and they're helping you clean it off. And while they're helping you clean it off, they're relieving you of all your stuff. So watch out for that. If anybody spills on somebody, go into high alert. Make sure don't have your hands in your pockets, and just be not common courtesy, but common sense with your stuff. Don't be a target. Don't leave valuables hanging out around. Make sure your wallet's in your front pocket or in cargo shorts, and you'll be fine. Okay, the ATM scam. Sorry for the noise in the background. This can work a bunch of different ways. Bottom line is, do not ever, under any circumstances, accept help or advice from somebody when you're at an ATM machine. Period. If somebody comes up and says, hey, this machine charges you a lot of money, maybe another machine I know of, no. Get away from it. There's a lot of cloners down here. Never use an ATM on the street, especially in Playa del Carmen. Fifth Avenue is a very touristy place. There's a lot of ATMs out on the street. Never use those. They're very easy to get to, and they'll put little cloners where you slide your card in. So you'll slide your card in, you'll get the money, and then somebody else will have your PIN card, your PIN number, everything else after that. So be careful. Never accept help. Don't use ATMs on the street. Okay, the credit card cash scam. This is very common in nightclubs and things like that where things are so busy. In Mexico, it's a little bit different than you're used to in the US and Canada. When you're paying for your bill in the US or Canada, you hand over your credit card, your ID, they take it to the back, they run it. That's unheard of here. Here, they bring the credit card machine out to your table. Now, what they may do, as embarrassing as it is, I got about a month ago at one of the clubs here. I'm not going to mention the name, but handed my credit card. Everybody's hanging out. They came back. They said, "Oh, it was declined." I'm like, "That's impossible. I've got plenty of money in there, so run it again." They didn't bring the credit card machine here to show me that it was declined, and I was drinking a little bit and was otherwise occupied. So when they came back again, they were like, "No, it declined." I'm like, "No worries, I have cash." And over. Get home the next day, the credit card was charged twice. So make sure if they tell you your card is declined, that they show you that it was declined. They'll bring the machine right up to you. So be careful of that. Okay, this one's for the guys. We call this the pretty girl scam. And especially no offense, but if you're just some average, maybe middle-aged guy and don't maybe get a bunch of action at home, and you come down here and all of a sudden some gorgeous Latina is paying all sorts of attention to you and you are everything, something's not right. And that it can be anything from pickpocketing, just get close to you, rubbing on you, pickpocketing you. I know a friend of mine personally, younger guy, hooked up with these girls at the club. They're dancing, they're having a good time. His friends wanted to go home. She's like, hey, I'll show you to a local club. He's like, awesome, that's great. So went to another club with her. They sat down. She's like, hey, I'm gonna buy you a beer. Bought him a beer. They're drinking and having a good time dancing. And next thing he knows, he's waking up face down in a puddle of piss in the bathroom stall with the cleaning crew trying to wake him up and throw him out of the club, because she did is drugged him, dragged him into the bathroom, really do all this stuff, no wallet, no credit cards, no cash, in a part of town he didn't know. So guys, if it looks too good to be true, it is, okay? So watch out. All right, unfortunately taxis, scams involving taxis here in Playa del Carmen and other parts of Mexico are very common, especially in places where they're not metered. Like here in Playa del Carmen, there's no meters on the taxis. They're supposed to be set rates that they're supposed to charge you, but a lot of times you'll get in, you get there, and they will give you charge you an enormous amount of money, and if you don't pay it, they threaten to get the police, and many tourists just get really scared and just end up paying it. I know 2 older Canadian women who just got a 6-block taxi ride, got hit for 900 pesos, and they were too scared, they didn't know, so they just paid it. Always negotiate before you get in the cab. That way you know what you're paying up front. It's very easy to avoid this one. Just negotiate up front. Make sure you figure it out before you get in the cab. Okay guys, those are some of the more common scams that you're going to find in Mexico and other areas. The bottom line, use common sense. Don't be a target. Don't flash cash. Don't, have, jewelry. Don't set yourself up to be a target. Use common sense. Pay attention to your surroundings, and you're going to be fine. Stuff happens. As a tourist in a foreign country, you're obviously going to be a target. So just minimize that and protect yourself. Now, if you want to make a little extra money traveling, you want to learn, be able to work remotely, live laptops lifestyle, click the link below. If it sounds like something might be interesting to you, let's connect. Maybe we can work together. There's a lot of we're building a nice, strong team of people who live the fitness, travel, freedom lifestyle, and it might be something you might be able to do too. Whether you want to live abroad or just make a little extra money at home wherever you are, it doesn't matter. Click the link below, enter your information, and we'll see you guys soon for another edition of the Mexico Minute.